We are back with another episode of the Between the Hashes podcast here on the 515 Podcast Network. As always, joined by Braden Bankin, Brock Bierman, and myself, Dawson Livingston. Fellas, how are we doing? Week 4 of the NFL just wrapped up. We're almost a quarter of the way through the season, which is kind of crazy to believe, but how are you guys doing?
I mean, been better, been worse. Liked what I saw on Saturday. Did not enjoy what I saw on Sunday.
Brock? Same thing?
Yeah. Cardinals season's over, so
I don't know about over.
No, it's over.
It's just
it's
done.
over.
You're gonna mock draft seasons upon us.
You're 0-2 in your division, and the only team that you haven't played yet is the team that I think is the favorite to now win the division. So
yeah,
But the whiteout was cool on Saturday. The actual whiteout, not Penn State. You know, the ones that, because you can't do a whiteout and lose. That's like it's number one rule of a whiteout.
True. Exact opposite for me. I don't want to talk about college at all. But pros, I'll talk pro football all day long.
I'll make you a deal. If I can tell you my Iowa story about the game on Saturday, I will not trash Iowa the rest of this episode.
Okay, let's hear it.
So I was able to somehow get good enough service in Jack Trice Stadium to watch the ending of the Iowa game. I guess I should just say this. I blame the loss on me, not on anybody else. And you'll see why in a couple seconds. So around that 2:30-ish mark or whatever, when Indiana threw that pick, I said with all the confidence in the world that this is going to be the most Iowa way to win a game against a top 10 or just top-ranked opponent. And there's no way they're going to blow this. The people I was with at the game, one of them looked at me and she said, "There's a lot of football left. I don't know what you're saying." I was like, I said to her, the most confident I've ever been. And I said, I know Iowa, and I know for a fact this is 1,000% over. Iowa has won this game. It is over. And yeah, I was wrong. I was really, really wrong. And here's the thing, though. Anyone that was watching that game, I guarantee you, maybe outside of Iowa fans now, after what's happened over the last couple of years, everybody that wasn't an Iowa fan thought that game was over and it was going in Iowa's favor.
Yeah.
Oh, and I had someone sitting by me too that was casually just watching off of my phone, and I sparked up a conversation with him. Iowa fan, goes to Iowa State games because his kid's an Iowa State student, whatever. He wasn't paying that much attention. He didn't know that Gronowski got hurt. So when I asked him, I was like, "So, what do you think about the backup? How he's looking as we're watching on my phone?" He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Well,
Hank Brown season.
Yeah, Gronowski's hurt. Did you not see it? His face. I might as well have brought up some World War II story that this guy was in that battle, like because he is like it was the face of something that someone has." Like was wanting to die and never wanted to like hear a story like that ever again.
Me and him both.
So that yeah.
I only want to say one thing about this because this horse has been dead and beaten long ago. I don't want to pile on. It is fascinating how every single time Iowa's quarterback looks so just at best mid. Like it's not great. And then every time you find someone worse. How does it keep getting worse? It is unfathomable.
Hey,
that seems to be a word I keep using on this podcast, but I have no words. And no other words to describe it.
Last thing I'll say on it, you get to watch Patrick Mahomes on Saturday. So I get to go from watching Rocco Beck to Kyler Murray. You get to go from insert any Iowa quarterback for the week to watching Patrick Mahomes. So I don't really feel that bad for you, but
it all evens out in the end.
Yeah, exactly. So But Saturday's loss, I will take sole responsibility for Iowa losing that game because I have never been so confident in my life. And honestly, though, rightfully so, because Iowa has done it time after time. It was the one time it didn't happen, and it was one of those. I was cheering for Iowa because Iowa State needs all of the support it can get. I'm not gonna lie, I haven't laughed that hard since Christian McCaffrey in the Rose Bowl. It was that bad. Okay, I'm done. I will not mention that game the rest of the night.
You guys good?
Your team's the only one that won this week. We have to make you feel bad at least somehow.
Yeah.
True. I guess.
There is a quota for the amount of pain Dawson Livingston has to face on this podcast.
Yeah.
So if it's not through the Chiefs, it's through Iowa.
The first 10 minutes is just getting bullied, but the last 50 minutes of this podcast,
I mean, I volunteered to be a Cardinals fan, so I kind of knew what I was signing up for.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy. Like if you're gonna head to
David Johnson.
If you're gonna head to fan free agency, of all the places you could have landed, the Cardinals.
David Johnson, man. And you know what? Part of me, like I've told this story many times, I almost became a Texans fan when he got traded, but then I found out D-Hop was coming. And part of me kind of wishes I would have just became a Texans fan because of the receivers there that are Iowa State guys. Like I would be having so much more fun than what I'm having right now, which it's not even that much better.
The Cardinals have double the wins though as the Texans, though. Just want to point that out. Double the wins.
It took playing one of two possible answers for the worst team in the league to finally get a win, but they did it.
All right, no more Iowa bullying. All right, the first 7.5
we're
minutes.
Done. I just wanted to mention that story because I thought it was so funny.
All right, yeah. If we wanted to make an Iowa podcast, we could, but I don't want to.
That'd be funny. 2 Iowa State fans and 1 Hawkeye fan for a pod.
Just
for a
getting
pod about
bullied.
Iowa sports.
It's just bullying at its finest, dude. Okay, you guys ready to talk about NFL? Or are we just gonna keep that?
Fine.
I suppose. Yeah, we can have your fun now.
All right. First game of the week was obviously Thursday Night Football. Seahawks take the dub over the Cardinals, 23-20. Little controversy at the end of this game. I want to know your guys' thoughts on that. But Marvin Harrison appears to shake off the demons that he was fighting, able to catch a touchdown, and that moment was super cool when he was really super appreciative of catching that touchdown and gave the Cardinals a chance, tied it up. But I think the main controversy is the kickoff where it was half a yard short and it ended up going on to the 40-yard line for the Seahawks. And at that point, I thought it was over just because you only need 15 yards to hit a field goal, or I don't know how many they got on that drive, but you only need to get 20 yards at most. You're going to win the game with 30 seconds left. But what are your guys' thoughts on the way this game ended?
Yeah. If it wasn't for another game that we will talk about later, finishing the way that it did, this would probably be one of the worst ways to end a game that I've seen in a while. This would be a way the Cardinals would lose a game, is because their kicker couldn't get it to within the 20-yard line.
Is it Ryland? Is that the kicker's name? Chad Ryland?
Yeah. I will be honest, I forgot that it was Thursday until about the fourth quarter of this game, so I don't have a whole lot to really say about it. But yeah, I think Brock's going to have a lot more to say about this one than I will.
I hate this team, man. I hate this organization. The thing that upsets me the most about this is I get texts from people asking me what the Cardinals need to do to even be somewhat relevant. And anyone that is flaming Marvin Harrison still after what he was able to do in the second half of this game needs to just stop. Honestly, he improved a lot, but I know that he has had some really, really bad catches. And I know he has not been that guy that even I thought he was going to be when the Cardinals drafted him. But I do you still see those moments of, okay, this guy can be something that's arguably one of the better receivers in the league with some of the plays that he's able to make. The Cardinals, so see, this makes it sound like I'm giving an excuse for why they lost, but the Cardinals are screwed right now just because of their offense, like their roster at the running back position. They have nobody to give the ball to that they can really rely on. I know Trey Benson has been a guy that they've tried to give opportunities to over the past couple of years, and it's just not it's not going to work. And so when you got that situation going on, then you have to throw the ball more. And then Kyler Murray's decision making wasn't necessarily the greatest in terms of some of the throws he made on Thursday. The Seahawks have really impressed me. They're a team with not a lot of star talent, but a lot of just they're built to compete. And so far they have been able to compete really well because they are 3-1. The Cardinals need to literally like blow up this team in order to ever maybe have hope in terms of competing in this division in the NFC, in the NFL in general. And it's not even like trade Kyler. It's not one thing. It's like everything needs to happen. And unfortunately, I personally think the ownership probably needs to be looked at a little bit too, because we've talked about the issue of how the Cardinals are like the last ranked team in pretty much every
make their players pay for their own food in the
organization rankings thing, except for I think they were dead last in everything but one, and I can't remember what the one was, but
weather.
But probably that. But like they were
degrees in training camp. There's no shot.
They were one ahead if I remember correctly on that. But yeah. It's not going to get better until the ownership realizes that they need to adjust some things. I'm not a fan of Gannon as the head coach. Unfortunately, I don't think it's rare anymore that a head coach that doesn't have a very good offensive background is successful in the NFL. Sorry, that's just the way it is for those people that like defensive-minded football. And their head coaches, it's just not what it is anymore. Look at the guys that are competing for Super Bowls years after year. Their head coaches are usually have a pretty decent offensive background. Obviously, there are some outliers, but still, when you really look at it, that's just the way it is. It's just a mess. Good win for the Seahawks. The Seahawks have gained a lot of respect from me over the past couple weeks since week one, honestly, because I did not think they were going to be good whatsoever. But Marvin Harrison is not bad. He just needs to be – they need to build a team around him, honestly, not Kyler.
It took Quentin Johnson till year 3 to really break out as a star.
Yep.
It's Marv's, 18th game in the NFL? Maybe – couple more than that, but it takes time for some of these receivers to really come into like their own and be a true dominant number one. And Marv had so much pressure on his shoulders when he got drafted to Arizona because he was regarded as the best wide receiver prospect ever
since Megatron, at least.
Yeah, I mean, when he came out of Ohio State, if it wasn't for that draft having Caleb, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, who are all balling out right now, he would have been a top 2 pick, maybe number 1. But yeah, I like what you said about the Seahawks. The Seahawks are a real surprise this year. I don't think anyone saw them going 3-1 to start their season with wins over Arizona, obviously, Pittsburgh, and who was their third win against? I know they lost. Their one loss was to the Niners, but I guess the Saints doesn't really count. But that's a team that's
they did. I will say though, they did kill the Saints. That the Cardinals and the 49ers both struggled to do.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the Seahawks, like you said, they don't really have a whole lot of stars, but like JSN is really good. Kenneth Walker's good. Darnold's looked pretty good for his role in Seattle. But yeah, Seattle's certainly one of the more surprising teams thus far.
I don't want to hate on Sam Darnold. We all know that he has his moments of what do you usually call
Pumpkin
it?
mode?
Yes.
Pumpkin mode. Yeah.
So honestly, I don't hate the Seahawks defense. I think they might be a quarterback away from being somewhat like competitive towards the top of the NFC. Maybe that's a stretch. I don't know. I really like JSN. Kenneth Walker is still a really good running back. Cooper Kupp's up there in age, but he can still be a guy that you can sometimes give the ball to. And I really like their defense as a whole. So what I thought was going to be maybe a longer rebuild for this Seahawks team, and I guess depending on who you ask, maybe they've been in a rebuild for a while, but I think they might be a couple moves away, maybe even a quarterback away from being a real contender in the NFC.
Don't hate that take. I think that's a respectable take for Seattle. I'm going to fly by some of the games on Sunday that we're not going to go too in depth by. If you guys want to talk about one, just feel free to stop me. Bills beat the Saints 31-19. Josh Allen, I think, had 3 total touchdowns. Bills look dominant as ever. Lions beat the Browns 34-10. After the Browns beat the Packers last week, Lions just like manhandled them the entire game. Patriots beat the Panthers 42-13. The Patriots offense looked unstoppable at some points. What other ones?
Friskometer is in shambles.
Real quick on the Lions game, I think they needed to lose to Green Bay week 1. I think that week 1 loss is going to be looked at as a really good loss for them because they have looked dominant since that game. And so and beating the team that just beat the Packers a week ago, I'm very high on the Lions, as you will see probably later on in the show.
Yeah. I don't know who they play next week, but they've had some impressive wins. Obviously with beating Baltimore last week on Monday Night Football, and then beating the Bears by a gazillion points. But yeah. Other than that, Texans win 26-0 against the Titans. The Titans are really bad. I think that's the only storyline that comes out of this game.
Yeah, I think Cam Ward put it in better words than any of us ever possibly could. Mainly because I can't say the words that he said. Yeah. But put it simply, they're not very good.
I think the one concerning point for me for the Texans in this one, they only had 6 points through 3 quarters of football. It was a 6-0 ball game. Then they exploded for 20 points in the fourth quarter. So able to get some points.
Their offense is weird because they have weapons. They do. I think it's their offensive line that's really holding them back.
Yeah, but I think I saw a stat that this is statistically Stroud's best O-line when it comes to like pass block win rate.
But I also I think that's still like
I think that's more of a demerit on the Texans' ability to actually like help CJ Stroud not die.
Yeah.
More than it is this O-line being good. Because I mean, I've said it so much I almost need to just buy a sign that just says games are won in the trenches. Because good Lord.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say it until I'm blue in the face. The Texans O-line is still horrible.
Yep.
And that is why they were only able to score 6 points. Shout out Woody Marks, though. He was able to do pretty well in this game. I don't have his stats off the top of my head, but he was good.
If you had Woody Marks in fantasy, you were a happy man.
Okay.
He looks like he's RB1.
Now that you guys have mentioned this, it is time for our normal, like, random fantasy thing that happened to one of us at some point. So I lost a matchup.
Fantasy stud of the week.
Yeah, basically. I lost a matchup to...
Who's my stud of the week?
A guy that was 0-2 in our league. No. 0-3 in the league. You want to hear some of the players on his team?
Yeah.
Okay, so he had Woody Marks. So he had 27.9. He also had Khalil Shakir for the Bills, who had basically 18 points.
Yep.
He also had George Pickens, who had 33.4 points. Also Dallas Goedert decided to be a good tight end this week and got him 19.7 points. He also had the Broncos defense, who only allowed 3 points the entire game, and then also had the Green Bay kicker, who had 12 points. So I got killed by someone that was 0-3 I lost by like over 40 points, but like the guys that he didn't want on his team just happened to be good this week. Half of those guys I think he sent to me in a trade request like a couple weeks ago, and my guys performed really well still that he wanted in return. But it was just one of those that I had to mention. If anyone would have mentioned Woody Marks, I had to mention that everybody knows that 1 week where someone loses to someone they shouldn't, but that's just because all the bad guys decide to have a good week, and I was the one this week that had that.
Damn. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Brock's fantasy trauma of the week right there.
And it's going to keep getting better.
Yeah. Other games, Falcons pick up a win against the Commanders 34-27. Looks like the Falcons had like a complete game on offense. They were able to run the ball, pass the ball. Penix didn't look horrible. Kyle Pitts. Is Kyle Pitts back? 5 catches,
Kyle
70
Pitts,
yards.
fantasy owner, right here. We have never been more back than we are right now.
Yeah. Another week of Mariota.
And I have Drake London and Kyle Pitts.
So
I won this week by 50.
Yeah.
And I started David Montgomery, who gave me 3 points.
Yeah.
I lost by
won.
50.
Damn.
Had the lowest amount of points for a win in the whole league this week, but I still won by 50, so don't care.
Another storyline, Commanders. It's another week of Mariota starting because obviously Jaden Daniels has been hurt the last 2 weeks. I don't know what the story of if he's going to come back this week or not for the Commanders, but yeah, 34-27 was the score of that one. Any other games you guys want to brush over before we get into some of the bigger ones?
I mean, do we need to talk about the Monday night games at all? I don't know.
Not really. I mean, Dolphins win 27-21. The storyline is if Tyreek Hill got hurt, please do not look up the video. It is rough. You will regret watching it, but the Dolphins still picked up a win. Without Tyreek Hill, I think pretty much all the second half.
Done.
Yeah, he's at that wide receiver age where it's like you suffer a substantial injury like that, it's gonna be pretty hard to recover from.
Yeah, especially for a guy with Tyreek Hill's like skill set. Obviously, like the common misconception is that he's really only good because of his speed, but it sure does help.
Yeah.
But a lot of what he is like that. It is the speed, it is the route running, and when you have an injury like that to your legs, we have no idea if you're ever going to be the same again after that.
You don't get the nickname Cheetah for no reason.
Right, and he's 31 years old. I think he's in a contract year, or he's got one more year left on his contract. He's obviously going to be out the rest of this year. And then we'll see with next year. I mean, he dislocated his knee, and it sounds like he tore other ligaments, like he tore his ACL. Please, again, do not look up the video. It is very, very graphic.
I didn't watch the game, and I was one of the few unfortunate people that were just probably scrolling on social media and didn't ask for it, saw the video, and I immediately turned my phone off and went, that's enough social media for tonight.
Yeah. I think they showed the replay of the play on the broadcast, and that's when I fully saw it. It was like, he's done.
Yeah. So
and when he was getting carted off, he looked like he was like happy. he looked like he was happy to be done with whatever was going on down there. So
I think I saw a comment that said when you realize you don't have to worry about catching a pass from Tua anymore or something like that, which is very unfortunate given the circumstances. I don't know. Maybe it was a little bit of adrenaline too, of obviously he's probably in a lot of pain given what the image showed us. But, everybody talks about that like adrenaline thing that kicks in. One, when you're participating in an athletic event such as the NFL, and two, after you get injured like that. But I don't know. Yeah. I've been fortunate enough never to have to deal with that, so I don't know if that is true in his situation or not.
Yeah, prayers up for Tyreek. Shout out Darren Waller. First time he's played football in a year and a half and scored 2 touchdowns, so shout out him. Played well for the Dolphins. Then the other Monday night game, this one was a snooze fest. It was the second of the doubleheader. Can we get rid of doubleheaders in Monday Night Football, please? It's just too late. I don't need 2 games on Monday night. I need one to look forward to, one good game. I don't want to watch Broncos Bengals.
It
Broncos
appears
beat.
the Roger did not listen to my advice last time we had a doubleheader.
I'm gonna find a way to email this podcast link to Roger Goodell himself, and I'm gonna make sure that he watches this episode. And
Well,
sees
you don't have to send him the whole episode. You can
just the clip.
send him.
I'll clip
just
it
the
out.
clip.
I'll send it to him.
Just send him the clip.
Yeah, but
Don't
there's
take
no
that out of
reason we should be
context.
having 2 games on Monday night. No
Yeah.
reason.
The
But
Bengals desperately need to get a different quarterback.
Yeah. Broncos win
I-
28-3.
They need a better
Sorry,
offensive
Falcons
line
fans.
and to not face one of the best defenses in football.
That is
finally.
true. That is true.
And that's not going to happen for another 2 weeks as well because I think they're playing like the Lions and the Browns. So
Oof.
Yeah. Broncos win 28-3. Sorry for all Falcons fans out there, but yeah, it just didn't look good for the Bengals whatsoever the entire game. Couldn't run the ball, couldn't really throw the ball whatsoever, and the Denver D line was just dominant the entire game. It really shut down Jake Browning. All right, those are all the snooze fest games from this week. Game I really want to talk about is the Dublin game that happened at 8:30 in the morning. Which, so if you were up for this one,
I was not.
yeah, I was.
I was
unfortunately up
not
for
either.
work.
I was somebody who, in another league from the one that I've been telling about all my players, I was the poor unfortunate soul that had Jalen Warren in my starting lineup.
Oh
And it was
no!
not I woke up at 9:45. The game started at 9:30, so I was cooked.
Yeah.
Did not win
Steelers-
that one.
Yeah. Steelers win 24-21. DK Metcalf goes crazy, 5 receptions, 126 yards, a touchdown. Kenneth Gainwell, like you mentioned, Jalen Warren was out this game. I think he was ruled out like right before the game.
Like
Kenneth Gainwell stepped
7:30.
in. Yeah. Stepped in, 19 carries, 99 yards on the ground, 2 rushing touchdowns, and then I think also had 35 yards on the ground with 6 receptions. Huge game. Rodgers only had 4 incompletions. What are your guys' thoughts on this game? Is Pittsburgh a legit contender, or is it just they've caught in luck with some of these games they played?
I've been kind of hinting at it that it's a possibility if Rodgers is good enough, they can compete. And I will say though, DK really helped him this week. If you look at his percentage of yards that went to DK,
Yeah.
But they already have a good defense. TJ Watt reintroduced himself to a lot of people this week, and yeah, I will say the one thing that does concern me though is that they barely beat the Vikings, who had Carson Wentz, who, I mean, he hasn't been necessarily disappointing, but he hasn't been good enough in order for them to like take that next step or maybe even compete without JJ.
Yeah. Because last week, it was really that defense that won that game for the Bengals as bad as they did. Wentz played okay.
Yeah.
But that storyline kind of got lost because of how dominant Isaiah Rodgers and that Minnesota defense was.
This was a defensive battle between the Steelers and the Vikings this weekend.
Yeah. Wentz threw for 350 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, did have 2 interceptions. But Minnesota could not run the ball on that Pittsburgh front 7. Braden, what were your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm just waiting for the Steelers I expected to show up because I feel like it always happens. Like it feels like they start the year like really good. They look like one of the better teams in the league, and then at some point in the middle of the season, they just kind of die.
Yeah.
Like it feels like it's coming eventually, but it hasn't happened yet. So good on them, good win. I think Brock and I have learned pretty quickly into the year. It's hard to have a high-scoring game in Dublin. So
Yeah.
you're going to have a defensive game anytime you go overseas.
Yeah.
This was definitely one of them. Yeah, like you said, Kenneth Gainwell went off with Jalen Warren being out.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, this kind of just felt like the game we expected it to be in a way.
Yeah.
Next 3 games for the Steelers: at home versus Cleveland, at Cincinnati, at home versus Green Bay.
They could be 5-1 going into that game against Green Bay.
If they are not, Braden, I will do the this is the Steelers a lot of people were expecting if they're not 5-1. I'm not trying to say that they're guaranteed to, but it's all like
There's
your
no
team
guarantees
is
in the NFL.
that's
We'll get to a game later that was
that is
absolute
true.
upset,
That is true.
but
That is true.
yeah, I agree with you. If they're not at least 4-2 going into that game against Green Bay, then it's the same old Pittsburgh.
And then the next two games after that, at home versus Indianapolis, at Los Angeles versus the Chargers. So if they have less than 4 losses on that when they are back home versus Cincinnati, and especially with how much that division, the AFC North, has struggled, they almost might have a very, very big lead in terms of that division.
Yeah, because everyone in that division right now is bad. And if they're not bad, they're 1-3, and they are so injury prone, aka Baltimore Ravens. But yeah, Pittsburgh looks good. I think I certainly underestimated them to start the year. I did not think that the offense would look as good as it has, and it hasn't looked great. There's been pretty tough spots to watch, but they've looked good, and they've gotten 3 wins, so can't fault them too much. But
let's skip the upset that I think you're wanting to talk about.
Yeah,
because I think that's not just the game. I think there's a bigger conversation with that. If I'm thinking of the same game that you're wanting to hint at.
All right, then we will move down the ladder. This was an awesome game, even though one team was leading by a lot for the majority of the game. Philly beats Tampa Bay 31-25. Philly was up 24-6 at halftime. It looked like Philly was just going to absolutely steamroll Tampa Bay. And Tampa Bay was able to string some drives together. They scored a long touchdown to Emeka Ibuka later in the game. Bucky Irving was their leading receiver, which shows you how depleted their wide receiver corps is at the moment. But yeah, this was a fantastic game. It came down to the last minute. Tampa Bay did have the ball, but unfortunately, Philly is just really, really good at football. But I think the storyline I want to talk about is Jalen Hurts only having 130 passing yards in this game, which...
Are they the most unimpressive 4-0 team? Or is at least
I guess there's only
play?
one other 4-0 team this year.
No, of like recent memory.
I think people would have made the argument last year that Kansas City was also super.
I was just about to say that as well. They kind of feel like the Chiefs last year.
They do.
Where they just keep winning these games by the skin of their teeth. And we're like, okay, great. You keep winning these close games, but you can't win every close game. And then they win every close game.
And you know what's funny is the other team in that Super Bowl game started off 2-2 and ran the table and won the Super Bowl.
Here we go again.
Oh, what team started off 2-2 this year? All right.
The Cardinals.
Yeah, and the Bears. Bear down. But yeah, the passing offense for Philly is just, it's bad. And I know they put up 31 points, but it's just, this offense is not very fun to watch. And they have all these weapons on the outside, but they're not using them.
What's the deal with A.J. Brown? Is he done there?
I
don't know.
Because it's weird, because it's giving me vibes of what happened. A lot of people were trying to draw up controversy with Jalen Hurts and the coaching staff last year. At one point, there was clips of Hurts getting noticeably frustrated last year, and then they won the Super Bowl, and everything's good now. So I don't. The only difference is that A.J. Brown has hinted at his frustrations publicly. So maybe this is a little bit of a different situation, but I mean, every post I see, people are making it sound like he's going to be gone at some point, but I don't know. I don't know if you can just get rid of a guy like him either, because I know he's not producing right now, but he's still
I don't
A.J.
think
Brown.
it's his fault that he's not producing. Let's just
Exactly.
And the thing is, winning is obviously great, right? And especially now, A.J. Brown already has a ring, so he already has that on his resume. Receivers get paid by putting up stats.
Yeah.
He's not getting the ball. He's being treated like an offensive lineman right now.
Yep.
Can I say a comp really quick? And I don't know if this will make sense, but it kind of feels like this way. This reminds me a lot of Tyreek's last year with Kansas City, where Tyreek was visibly frustrated because he was not getting the same targets he had been, and he already had a ring. So it's like, I just want stats. I want my stats, and I want to get paid. And after the season, it looked like he was going to re-sign with Kansas City, and then Miami comes out of nowhere, offers the Holy Grail, and ends up landing Tyreek. This is kind of what it feels like. Is that like a fair take to have?
No, that's absolutely valid.
Yep.
That's kind of just what the league has come to, where you get a ring or two, and then it's like, all right, I already have this on my resume.
Right.
Give me stats, give me money. I'm gonna make this generational wealth. Let me get these 1,000-yard seasons, and I'm gonna try to put myself in the Hall of Fame, other than just the Hall of I got a ring. Cool.
Speaking of 1,000-yard seasons, I think I'm gonna make. I don't know how long he's out, but I think the longest streak in NFL history for consecutive 1,000-yard receiving seasons is gonna come to an end, and it actually kind of makes me sad because Mike Evans has been one of the most consistent wide receivers in the NFL, and he's so fun to watch, and he's not someone that has ever drawn up any controversy that is at least notable or would make you think one way or another about him. So the fact that he's been getting hurt these last couple of years, I knew that it was coming at some point, but I think this is the year that Mike is going to mess it on 1,000 yards.
I have one really quick thing that I want your guys' thoughts on. I'm going to name a group of 5 teams, and I want you to tell me what these teams have in common. Ready? Bengals, Titans, Eagles, Steelers, Cardinals. What do you think I'm referring to on that?
Is that like bottom 5 passing offenses?
Bottom 5 offenses total.
Yeah.
Close.
Are we number 1? Oh wait,
no,
it's
the
Bengals.
No,
Bengals. Okay, yeah. If you would have told me that going into the year that the Bengals would even be in consideration,
dude,
I probably would.
Are barely above 200 offensive yards a game. Yeah, Philly is only averaging 250 yards a game, and I know yards aren't a direct indicator of how good an offense is playing, but it helps. Helps them get yards.
Everybody liked that subtle jab that Philly did to basically all NFL fans, faking that tush push. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, I saw that. I was happy because Saquon scored, and I made some money because of Saquon scoring, so I appreciate that. But yeah, I think the moral of the story for this game is Philly. Yes, they're 4-0, and it just feels like the same story as Kansas City last year in my eyes. And now I get what you guys were frustrated last year about, because this is very boring to watch. And,
it makes it harder being a Celtics fan that just hates all Philadelphia teams. So
yeah. But as of now, Philly's one of 2 undefeated teams, along with Buffalo. I still have a lot of faith in Tampa Bay when they can get healthy. That's the huge key with them, because it looks like Bucky Irving also went down in that game, and he is their RB1. Yep. They're going to need him if they want to do anything going forward into the playoffs.
I have been told by numerous people that I am terrible. If you have to buy a gift for me for any event, my birthday, Christmas, whatever, I'm terrible at finding gifts for. Baker Mayfield jersey, creamsicle preferred.
Yeah,
Baker Mayfield. Anybody that knows me knows that Baker Mayfield is probably my favorite quarterback of all time. I have been a fan since the Oklahoma days. Even I did a NCAA football 14 thing where I made him not transfer from Texas Tech and turned him into this all-time great kind of thing. So I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan. So I'm never going to count out this Buccaneers team, but man, the injuries are definitely catching up on them.
Yeah, this was one of our games that we had in our new segment that we like to do with our game of the week picks. Brock and I selected the Eagles to win this game. Braden selected the Buccaneers.
That was so hard for me to pick.
I wanted to pick Tampa Bay, because I think Tampa Bay is just a really fun team to watch. I hate Philly so much, but Philly was
Yep.
so good.
It
Philly's
was
so
close
good.
though. It was close.
It was
It was
close. It was
closer
a
than I thought it was
6-point
going to be.
game. So it was really an 8-point game, but the punter ran out of the back of the end zone, just like in the Iowa game. But yeah,
What game? I thought
you're right.
I don't know. Nothing happened on Saturday.
True. Yeah, on me. Did you want to hold off on the upset game, or did you want to?
I want to talk about
Okay.
that last.
Okay, that's fine. Another one of our game of the week picks that we had was Rams Colts. This game was super fun to watch. Kind of low scoring until that fourth quarter, and then the offenses for both teams really kind of took over the game. Rams win this one 27-20 at home. They improved to 3-0 or 3-1, excuse me, and then the Colts moved to 3-1, suffering their first loss this season. Stafford looked really good, 375 passing yards, 3 touchdowns. I think we saw the first signs of some Daniel Jones pumpkin mode. But yeah,
It should have been tied though.
yeah. Well, there is some controversy with this. There's one player that really sold this game really hard for the
It
Colts.
should have been tied. It
Yeah.
should have been tied.
But what were your guys' thoughts on this game before we address the elephant in the room with this one?
Yeah, that's.
Uh,
You can say what you will about the rest of the game. You lose a game by
plays.
7 points, and that happens.
Well, there's 2 plays that the reason why the Colts lost, and by the same player.
you might as well
I-
just say
this
them
is
right
like-
now so we can just talk
that's-
about them.
Okay, yeah. For those of you that didn't watch this game, because for some reason they still do the like blackout regions for games, so you can't watch some of the games, which I think is the stupidest thing ever. Well, I don't have Sunday tickets, so I can't watch some of the games. But Adidine Mitchell, buddy,
That's
We
a
have our-
benchable offense.
we have our player of the weeks that we do, and we recognize studs. Dude, you are the week 4 dud of
That's-
the week.
That's the locale of the week if I've ever seen one.
He had an amazing catch down the sideline, was wide open touchdown, and then sticks the ball out right before the goal line and fumbles out of the back of the end zone.
The thing is he fumbled it like noticeably. It wasn't like I'm gonna drop this before I get to the end
No,
zone.
it'd be one thing if it was a Deshaun Jackson. It was straight up
Yeah.
like he tried to like extend it out and he just.
Yeah.
Whoa.
That-
You have
You know-
receiver gloves, dude.
but for most players, you do something like that, you're benched for the rest of the game. Not Adidine Mitchell. He comes back with 2 or 3 minutes to go in the game. Colts are trying to win this game. It's 20-20. They are driving down the field. I think they're at midfield. Jonathan Taylor breaks a 57 or 53-yard touchdown run. Colts are now winning by 6. And then there's a flag, and it's Adidine Mitchell getting a holding call, and it backs up the Colts. They end up punting. Rams end up scoring on the first play of the next drive, 88 yards the other way. And that was all she wrote, basically, because the Colts didn't really do anything with their last drive. But
He had the most all-purpose yards on this team, and yet he was still the worst performer of this team.
I
That's
think you
what's-
take away his negative plays. I think it balances out to about 0.
And what's funny is the catch he had was an unbelievable catch down the sideline on that wide open touchdown.
Yep.
Well, should have been touchdown. But none
Which
of us
su-
are going to remember it.
The thing that sucks the most, though, is that's what a lot of people are just talking about his performance. And I don't feel like we're giving enough. And I, for one, have been a part of this team of like, we're waiting for the downfall of Matthew Stafford's career just because we're waiting for age and father time to catch up. 375 yards, 3 touchdowns. Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell, Devontae Adams. Like, man, this team, and I was not high on them whatsoever going into the season. This team now scares the crap out of me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this Rams team is very, very
Yeah,
good.
I gotta say, most of my takes so far on my time on this podcast have not aged well. My Rams winning the
Same here,
division
brother.
pick is aging like fine wine at the moment.
They're a blocked field goal away from,
Yeah.
in my personal opinion, they'd be number one on my power rankings this week.
Yeah. Easy.
Which is crazy because I didn't even consider them as a contender in the NFC, let alone the NFL as a whole.
Yeah, they're 3-1 now. Colts again suffer their first loss this season. I don't know. Daniel Jones is on pumpkin watch. I'm not saying he's there yet, but he's in that same boat as Sam Darnold was last year, where it's like, I'm gonna just wait and see on that one. But a couple more games to talk about. Chiefs Ravens. This was a great game. I'm gonna just say this was a fantastic game. Chiefs beat the Ravens 37-20. I think it was the first time in the last 2 years I've seen the Chiefs actually move the ball up and down the field against the team. Mahomes had 270 passing yards, 4 passing touchdowns. Xavier Worthy's first game back from his injury in week 1, where Travis Kelce tried to commit friendly fire. But yeah, Chiefs offense looked really dominant, moving the ball up and down the field, and Baltimore suffers more and more injuries in this game, losing Ronnie Stanley, Roquan Smith, and Lamar went out in the third quarter of this game, which kind of iced this one. But what were your guys' thoughts on this game?
I think this game in particular really cemented how much the Ravens are missing Mike McDonald. Yeah. The Ravens defense was like this, like that was the Freddy Krueger of the NFL. Like you heard, I have to play the Ravens defense. We're not scoring this week. And now whoever is their defensive coordinator, obviously they've had injuries as well. I don't want to undersell that, but they have looked just like straight up just bad. And for how much talent is on that team to be 1-3 at this point in the year, dude, like I had this team as the top 5 team after a week 1 loss because of how much talent was on that team. This is the type of season where if they continue on the track that they're on, this is like John Harbaugh's oven might be preheated right now because that seat's getting hot.
Yeah. Brock?
These receivers are starting to figure out how to play with Mahomes, and it is scaring me. Last weekend was the most in sync I felt like Mahomes was with his receivers, at least that I can remember, in a very, very long time, which is funny. And granted, he had 5 catches for 48 yards. I felt like Travis Kelce wasn't necessarily as heavily involved, or at least as heavily featured in this game. Again, almost had 50 yards off of 5 catches, though. But that was because Xavier Worthy had 5 catches for 83 yards. Hollywood Brown had 3 catches, 38 yards and a touchdown. Juju had 4 catches and a touchdown alongside as well. Pacheco had 2 catches. Noah Gray had a catch. But people have been clowning this receiving core for a while, and I am not necessarily haven't been one of those. I have partaken in that every once in a while. But also I keep in mind if Mahomes ever finds a way to connect with these guys, or these guys ever just accept that they were playing with one of the best quarterbacks the game has ever seen, buckle up. And the Ravens are kind of struggling big time, so I don't know if you can consider this a big win, but you want to feel confidence going into the next couple of weeks where you go to Jacksonville, who just upset the 49ers this week, and then you're playing Detroit at home on Sunday Night Football. We're going to go from potentially, like Dawson said, 2-2 starting 0-2 to 4-2 potentially. And then you got Vegas, Washington, and then at Buffalo. This is a big stretch for the Kansas City Chiefs to get right back into the situation that they were in last year of competing for the number 1 seed in the AFC.
I'm so happy. And I don't know, like you mentioned it, I don't know if this game is more of the Chiefs offense looked good for the first time in 2.5 years, or if the Ravens defense is this bad. I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
But I just think for like the offensive players, it was just a relief knowing that they could go out on the field and still put up 37 points if they wanted to. And I think the most shocking thing that the Chiefs have figured out this year is how dominant their defense is right now. Because they were up 37-13. And I know Baltimore ended up scoring a pretty late touchdown, but that defense has looked good every step of the way other than the first game of the year against the Chargers. But yeah, I think the Chiefs, although I wanted to put them in my power rankings this week, I didn't have the kahunas to do it, but they are inching closer to getting back in my top 5 for my power rankings.
I was in the same boat. The only thing that kept me out is I have always tried to be a not predictor when I rank teams, more on this is what they've done so far, and this is so based off of that, this is where I would rank them. If we were going off of predictions, Kansas City would be in my top 5 easily, if not in the top 3, because I really think that they are getting right. But like you said, they haven't done enough yet for a power rankings that we're doing where it's based off of performances every week. Then they got some work to do.
Yeah, if this was a prediction top 5, I don't think they would have ever left
Exactly.
my top 5, because they could be 0-6, and I'd be like, okay, well they're going to finish 11-6, make the playoffs, and win the Super Bowl, because that's just how the Chiefs are.
Yep.
Like I am once bitten, twice shy with this Chiefs team. I have called them off one too many times. I've been in the club of the dynasty's over, we're saved, one too many times to jump into that hole again. I have learned my lesson. There is no God.
Well said. Next game I want to talk about, Braden, it does involve your Niners. We do have to talk about this one for a little bit. Jacksonville went into San Francisco and beat the Niners 26-21. Kind of a goofy score. You don't really see teams score 26 points that often, but Jacksonville was able to run the ball pretty much at will. ETN having 124 rushing yards, also having a rushing touchdown. This Purdy, he had an okay game. I wouldn't say he had a bad game or a great game. 300 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, did have 2 interceptions. Niners weren't really able to get the ball going on the ground. Braden, you are our honorary Niners fan. What were your thoughts on this game?
I think no matter what, this was probably a loss, because the Jaguars. Am I saying this just because they beat my team? Maybe, but I think I might have to buy a little bit of that Jaguar stock, because they actually might be something there.
Risky.
I don't know if I necessarily believe in Trevor Lawrence, but Travis Etienne is somehow not washed. I don't know what happened there, but he's back. Defense looks really. Devin Lloyd. Devin Lloyd was somebody that I almost put as my player of the week, because he had 2 picks, and I thought he forced that fumble that basically iced the game. I think they ended up giving that to Eric Armstead, which, I mean, you want another kick in the pants. There you go. But yeah, if you watched Purdy this game, you could tell he was in a lot of pain. He should not have come back this week. He was not ready to go. They only rushed him back because they saw Mac Jones like barely surviving against the Saints. And it was like, okay, we should probably
Mac Jones is my player of the week when he played the Saints, dude.
Yeah, because he did barely enough to win the game because the Saints are bad.
True.
And because they rushed him back when he clearly wasn't ready, he was like, he could barely put any pressure on his foot to actually be able to throw the ball with any sort of accuracy. Now you have idiots on Twitter, which this is my fault because I'm on Twitter, and that's just never a place you want to be, because everybody on that website is just there are caverns in their head where brains are supposed to be. These people are on. am fully being rage baited. I'm aware of that. Everybody's on here saying, "Oh, we paid Brock Purdy $53 million and he's not even better than Mac Jones. What a bum. What an idiot." Like, God, he can't put pressure on his foot to throw a ball, dude. Man, why? Why do we keep doing this? Why do we keep putting our best players into the worst possible positions to get hurt? That's how we lost Nick Bosa for the year, because like it just keeps happening, dude. We will never learn from our mistakes. Everybody gets hurt. Ricky Pearsall and Jawan Williams. I'm so mad I can't even talk. Jawan Jennings might miss next week against the Rams, which are my team to win the NFC West this year. Brock Purdy probably shouldn't play next week because he clearly wasn't ready last week. I don't think he's going to be doing much better next week when he has like Kendrick Bourne and Demarcus Robinson to throw the ball to. I mean, we saw what happened with
you basically just got the 2023 Chiefs receivers on your team.
I have the 2023
Sky Moore, MVS.
I'm not saying that you just need.
We have the 2023 Chiefs receiving core with a hobbled Brock Purdy and Mac Jones to throw them the ball, we're expected to make a Super Bowl run.
The NFL won't do this.
Get the hell out of here.
They won't allow you guys to do this because it's terrible for TV. Because you guys are, the Thursday night game, right? Yeah, Thursday night.
Yeah.
If I was you guys, Purdy ain't touching the field. Receivers ain't touching the field that you just mentioned that are hurt.
Yeah.
And McCaffrey's not even going to play either. Just chalk this up. And if you somehow pull off this miraculous upset, great. Just chalk this week up. Get
just
to
bring
next
all the
week.
practice squad guys up.
Seriously, especially with how big of a quick turnaround this is. Purdy should
Jake
not be nowhere near the field.
72 targets, and he's going to like it.
This is a chance for Sky Moore to prove everybody wrong.
If this wasn't against the Rams, I would
that.
be absolutely on board. But like, this is simply not a game that we can afford to lose, just because there is so much at stake in this game.
That's what sucks about this.
If these guys can walk, they are going to play, and they are probably going to get hurt for the rest of the season, because that's how the Niners roll, and I hate it.
Yeah, they certainly have a big game this Thursday for Week 5 against the Rams. Is that in LA or is that in San Fran?
Doesn't matter. It'll be more 49ers fans.
More Niners fans are going to be there regardless of if it's home or away.
It's just unfortunate how quickly this team has kind of fallen apart, because it was like I thought we were going to get, and I mean I keep predicting it. So
I mean, did I call it or what?
Yeah,
I said in my predictions, the Niners are going to get hurt because we are the Niners and this is what we do.
At what point do you not start looking at the training staff? I know the injuries are just freak things, but like
we hired a new head of the training staff 2 years ago. This is more than a training staff. This is
maybe it's just like something in Levi's.
Whatever voodoo doll the Mariners fan had to have their team make the playoffs. Rare Braden Bankin baseball reference. I bet you weren't expecting that.
Shout out baseball.
But whatever pagan witchcraft got the Mariners in the playoffs, someone paid a witch a lot of money to just curse the Niners forever. Just since the mid 80s, it's just been hell. Every possible turn, every time the Niners are like, oh, we're a good team. Surely this team wins a Super Bowl. Nope.
Oh man.
My life is purgatory, man.
Good win for the Jaguars, though. That division's starting to look a little more tougher than I imagined, even not outside of the Titans, but
the Titans are in their own tier. Them and the Saints. They're just
the three.
peas in the pod.
Both of those divisions are 3-team races, anyways. But
yeah, good win for the Jags. Travis Hunter still really hasn't figured out his way in the offense, and the Jags offense is still trucking along. So
Is there much that we need to hit on with this Bears game? I mean, it was a close game, but like
Genty played phenomenal.
Yeah, Genty played great, but Raiders
Blocked field goal.
Chip Kelly finally let Ashton Genty plays football how he wants to play football, and he actually played well.
Oh, what was
look
the
at
stat that I saw with the stance thing that he like?
Yeah, he like in the first 3 games he had like 144 rushing yards and 1 touchdown through the first 3
He didn't
games.
even have a
They let
touchdown,
him
did he?
stand up. No, he had 1. I think he had 1 touchdown.
His per game averages without the Michael Myers stance, 17-ish touches, 49 total yards. With the Michael Myers stance, 23 touches, 155 total yards, and 3 touchdowns. So all of his
That was
touchdowns.
the first touchdowns he scored on Sunday.
Really? I maybe I just saw but sure
Yeah,
the
this game
internet wouldn't have lied to me.
Yeah, Genty looked really good. First time all season. Geno Smith just loves to throw picks, dude. Something about it's in his DNA. He just loves to give the ball to the other team.
Death, taxes, and Pete Carroll leading a Geno Smith team to just averageness.
Mid. Not even mid. They're 1-3. They're stinky.
Yeah.
But yeah, Bears pick up another one because of a blocked field goal. All right. We got one more game, and then we're going to talk about the upset of the week. This game, we need to get rid of something in the NFL. The thing we need to get rid of, why does games end in ties? Why is that a thing? No one's ever given me an explanation why.
So for those that don't know, for those living under a rock, the Packers and Cowboys tied 40-40 after an overtime session on Sunday Night Football. And I was upset about it just as much as you were until actually a Packers fan at my work brought up, this is just going to cause so much chaos with potential playoff seeding if the league keeps being as close as it is record-wise this year. And part of me, this is me being a Cardinals fan, so I don't really care about what happens results-wise for other teams. Since my season's already pretty much over, I want chaos. So if the ties are going to help make it be like, oh, this one game ended in a tie, so this could change this, and this with the playoffs or divisional winners or whatever, I'm all for it. This will be the only year, maybe one of the few times you'll ever hear me say I'm good with ties, because I am not a fan of ties normally. But because it's involving the Packers, who a lot of people have considered to be a top contender in the NFC, I'm fine with it. Granted, if I remember right, it doesn't hurt as much as the loss anyways. So if anything, I think it almost benefits them for tying and not losing, but I don't know.
It's like a half win. I think it's treated as a half win.
Okay.
Which if you watch like the last 10 seconds of this game, the Packers probably should have just straight up lost.
Yeah.
Like Jordan Love
was disappointing.
with 5 seconds left, hikes the ball, tries to get one more touchdown, because nobody that's playing a game wants it to end in a tie. That's just the competitive nature of the sport. Tries to throw a competitive ball. It touched the ground with maybe 0.2 of a second left.
Yeah.
As to make it an incomplete pass, so that way they could kick the game-tying field goal. If the Cowboys DB, instead of smacking it down, smacks it up, or up and out, so that way it flies out of the back of the end zone, game's over, ends 37-40, Cowboys win.
Which, how funny is that?
This game really probably shouldn't have even ended in a tie.
Yeah.
Not even in a sense of the overtime rules are stupid, but in a sense of it just shouldn't have. But I feel like I have a pretty simple solution to this. Just make overtime untimed. Just make it so that way there's just one. Each team gets a possession. If the game after those 2 possessions, if it's still tied, next score
2-point
wins.
conversions, or
Just-
that.
just
Yeah.
next score
No
wins.
2-point conversions, just next score. I'm fine with that.
This feels ingenious, really.
Or if you're Pat McAfee, you think of the golden kick rule. I don't know if you guys saw that, where it's kickers start at the 50, and they go kick for kick, and you move 5 yards back.
I already hate
until the kicker
kickers
misses.
enough. I don't need that in my life.
I the 50-yard kick, trade 50-yarder kicks until somebody misses it.
Yeah. All that
That feels like too many extra steps. Like, if you're not going to do college OT rules, fair enough. I feel like you just make it untimed. Each team gets a possession.
You know what?
Next 4 wins after that. That
got
feels like pretty simple.
I got it. Ready? Roger, looking at you in this camera. Make the head coaches do a 40-yard dash against each other. Winner, whoever's head coach is faster wins.
You're never winning an overtime game again.
That's fine. Chiefs never go to overtime.
That's true.
They either just lose in regulation or win in regulation.
Huh. I might actually stand a chance.
Yeah.
Because he's skinny.
Yeah. Like Andy Reid, no offense to Andy Reid, he's screwed.
Yeah, we would have
big
too
red,
many
but-
heart attacks in the first couple overtimes.
Dable on the Giants is also probably screwed. But
Mike Vrabel might tackle the guy he's going up against.
true. Or you have
I think on the blocked field goal last week, pretty sure Aaron Glenn ran like a 4.5 40 trying to chase down Will McDonald. So Jets might actually start winning some overtime games.
or have O linemen try to catch punts. Just do something creative, something cool. But yeah.
That's for the UFL. Leave those funny things to the UFL.
That's for the Pro Bowl. That's
All this to say, no more ties. No more.
no more ties.
Just get rid of them.
They're unnecessary.
I like the
Very.
chaos.
They're just bad for the sport.
I want to see 5 ties this season and see how that changes the playoffs.
My God, dude. I hope you're so wrong. But all right. This is the game that Brock wanted to save for last, and it's the biggest upset of the week. I don't
Biggest
think any
of
of
the
us saw.
year.
Yeah, potentially. Giants pull off the upset 21-18, win in MetLife. Jackson Dart wins his first career start with the Giants after Russ getting benched in the week prior. Dart looked okay. He didn't amaze me. Didn't turn it over, which was good, but did get sacked 4 times. Did have a rushing touchdown, which was good. Herbert looked stinky, to say the least. 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. I think the storyline we all need to talk about, though, is Malik Nabers getting injured. Another player that has fallen at the feet of the turf at MetLife Stadium. What are your guys' thoughts on turf being in the NFL stadiums, and should they replace it and go all natural grass?
I don't know. A lot of people smarter than me are the ones that make these decisions, but it feels like all of these critical injuries keep happening on turf. But you also look at Najee Harris, which I think is the Steelers Stadium turf. I think it is.
I think it's grass. Let me look it up to verify, but yeah.
Because I feel like I saw Najee played his most of his career on turf and then goes to play on grass and then tore his Achilles 3 weeks in. So I think
grass.
it's you play your whole life on turf, and then you go to grass. It's that switch of the field that makes it so dangerous because you get so used to it going one way, and then you hop on another surface and it plays an entirely different way. That is what is causing these injuries. So I don't know if the answer is necessarily get rid of turf or get rid of grass, but make it consistent. Make it one surface for everyone, not this half turf, half grass baloney. Just one surface. Everybody gets to put in one field surface. If it's grass, great. If it's turf because it's cheaper, whatever.
When you say half turf, half grass, are you meaning half the stadiums are turf, half the stadiums are grass? Okay. Because I know even Iowa State, their stuff I think isn't 100% natural grass. I think it's 90-95%, and then they use an artificial turf thing it's something grass ag. It's something with the turf management side of things that I don't understand the science of, that it's not 100% natural grass, if I remember correctly. That's what the Aer Lingus turf was for that K-State Iowa State game. It was 100% natural grass, but it was not artificial turf. That's, from what I've seen, that's the one that I would like for the NFL to look into, because it seems like it's actually better for the athlete. I would like to present you a list of players that all fit a certain category involving turf, and more specifically New York. Nick Bosa, Solomon Thomas, Jimmy Garoppolo, Raheem Mostert, Sterling Shepard again, Wan'Dale Robinson, Blake Martinez, Shane Lemieux, Jabril Peppers, Kyle Fuller, Aaron Rodgers, Al Woods, Jalen Phillips, Andrew Thomas, and Malik Nabers. All those players have had significant knee or just lower body injuries on that field. I'm not saying that it's the field 100%, because, you can get tackled. You can just... An Achilles tear, I think, might be a stretch, just because, I guess I don't know how stiff or sticky a turf can be, but I feel like that, and people have seen the video of Aaron Rodgers and his Achilles tear. I think that was just kind of, his Achilles was worn out and just finally just gave. But, all these people are on this list, and if you don't know what this list is, this is players who have had significant injuries on that turf in New York, and a lot of them were season ending. A lot of them were career altering for a lot of these athletes. I don't like artificial turf. I've always been against it. It's not only the cheaper option that NFL teams go for, but I think it's pretty much been proven that it's not safe. It's not safer by any means, and also it makes it a million times hotter depending on where you're located. The amount of times that Iowa State, and I don't want to keep bringing college specific into it, but Iowa State plays a bunch of teams in Texas who all have that artificial turf. And the number one storyline half the time that they're showing on the sidelines when they go to the reporter on the sidelines is how hot it is on the field, because it is so hot. And it's 20 plus degrees warmer with that. So it's another issue that you have, is the heat and temp. I think the hybrid natural grass / artificial turf, I don't know exactly what it's called or anything, that I've heard about a couple teams using, should be what they're looking into, or just natural grass in general. I hate the fake artificial turf. I know it's just the cheaper option. That's why they do it, and I haven't seen anything of why it might be a better option.
So, for those of you that don't know, 17 teams in the NFL play on turf. 15 teams play with a grass or a grass hybrid field.
Arizona is one of those, right?
Yeah, some of the teams that play with turf include, obviously, Giants and Jets, because they share MetLife. SoFi, so the Rams and Chargers. Falcons play on turf. Patriots, Titans, Bills, Saints, Ravens are just some of the examples. Grass teams include Green Bay, Kansas City, Miami, Arizona, like Brock said, Chicago, and Cleveland are grass.
One of the coolest things about Arizona's is that they're able to take it out of the stadium, so they are able to preserve it throughout the week.
So does is it the Raiders?
Yep.
UNLV, when they play in the Death Star, they bring out turf, but when the Raiders play, they put the grass on top. So.
Yeah. So there is ways to do it. It's just whether or not you want to be looking out for. Whoa, am I giving the credit to the Cardinals organization for looking out for their players? That might be a first. But it's a decision between whether you really want to care about your players' health, because I really think that artificial turf is bad for your ligaments and stuff, or are you just wanting to save money? I don't know. It's whatever you prefer. I think it should be gone. And it sounds like the Players Association's getting upset about it too.
Well, I know some of the stadiums that are hosting the World Cup, I think it's next year, 26, they have to switch to grass for the World Cup at least.
And that's
So,
Kansas City and Vegas for sure in the U.S. I can't remember the other
I think
ones.
New York, Dallas,
Yeah, I think MetLife is one of
Minnesota.
them.
There's quite a few teams. That
Oh, New
switched
York,
fast.
really?
I think so.
Okay,
Because FIFA will not play on turf.
and rightfully so. Those guys are running the entire time. There is no breaks.
Right.
I know freak accidents happen, freak injuries happen, but you should not be able to just jump and tear your ACL. I know that you can look at basketball and Derrick Rose, just landed on his leg or whatever.
Yeah.
But like if you look at the history of what he did
We're
to
just
his
bringing
body,
up Braden's trauma right now. You mentioned like 4 Niners players that tore their ACL or Achilles on MetLife. And
but
then you
like
bring
I'm
up
trying,
Derrick
like,
Rose.
yeah, I feel bad.
I'm not
but,
having
like,
fun today, guys.
Sorry, I'm not
You
trying
feel like
to
what
do
I
that,
felt
but
in the
like
first 5 minutes of the episode.
I'm not trying to drag you down or anything, but like I'm just trying to like a lot of people like point at though Derrick Rose's knee injury of like a non-contact injury that like derailed an entire career. But if you look at the like history and doctors and trainers have looked into how he played the game, he landed a lot aggressively on those legs, and he never really landed on two. He always landed on one at first, and that's a big reason of why people think that his legs and his ACL decided to give out at that point. But there are no signs from Malik Nabers from having anything at least that would be like, oh, this was coming from a mile away. And so it's just an unfortunate thing. And it ruined it. The worst thing about it, though, is that the Giants did win, and we're not talking about that. We should be talking about how Cam Scadaboo and Jackson Dart led the Giants to a victory against the Chargers team that looked very impressive over the first couple weeks.
A Chargers team that we all had in our power rankings last week.
Not anymore. Actually, I don't even remember.
Well,
I don't think I had them.
Well, let's get to those power rankings really quick. Braden, I'm going to have you start off with your power rankings. Do you kind of want to just give us a rundown of where you have your teams and for what reason?
Yeah. So number one, I do have Philly. They did almost blow that lead to the Bucks, but I had the Bucks at number 5 last week. Obviously, they're not ranked this week, but I do still have a lot of faith in that Bucks team to turn it around. So I'm not going to dock Philly for almost blowing that game too much. Number 2, I have Buffalo. Didn't really move that much. A win is a win, even if it is against the Saints team. That is a team they should have blown out, and they did. So they stay where they're at. Number 3 through 5 are all going to be different. I feel like 3, 4, and 5 are going to be different like pretty much every week for me, because it kind of just feels like 1 and 2 are pretty solid, and then it's like the first 2 teams and then just everybody else. Like we kind of touched on earlier, the entire league just feels like it's just neck and neck with everybody. So at my number 3 spot, I do have Detroit. Of the 3-1 teams, I would say Detroit has shown almost like by far the most dominance in the rest of their wins. They did lose to the Packers, like we said earlier, but this is not the same team that lost to the Packers. This is a team that is hungry. This is a team that wants to destroy everybody in front of them, and they have. So got to tip my cap to them. Have them pretty high up here in my top 5. Number 4, I have the Rams. Again, a team I had faith to win the division. They've been proving me right so far. Puka Nacua looks like he might be like the best receiver in the league right now. Like right now, as in quarterback that can actually throw them the ball and they will produce. Puka Nacua looks like he might be the best one at it. Does only have 1 touchdown right now, which is insane because he has like 400 yards. But yeah, when you can, and that's with having Devontae Adams in that receiving room as well, who's also like a top 20 receiver in his own right. And Kyron Williams looks really good. They keep trying to give the ball to Blake Corum. I don't know why. He's not good. Maybe this is me complaining because I have Kyron Williams in fantasy. But, yeah, that offense looks really good. Defense looks as good as it did last year, if not even better. So this is a team I have. If I had to take one of my bottom 3 out of the top 5 to stick around, I don't know. I say that, but the Lions are probably going to stay. Lions and Rams feel like they're going to be sticking around the top echelon for a while as well. Number 5, when I was giving my top 5 to Dawson, and he can attest to this. I asked if I could just put nobody because
He did.
I will never give the Seahawks their flowers because I don't like them. And B, I'm just not really super sold on this team. I was kind of between a bunch, but my final 2 did end up becoming Seattle and Pittsburgh for this 5 spot. And simple head-to-head, Seattle won 31-17 when they did play. So would be kind of dumb to not have Seattle win that tiebreaker. And I will give credit where credit is due. Sam Darnold has looked a lot better than I would have ever given him credit for. I thought he was just going to be pumpkin mode the entire year because whenever he faced any sort of pressure against when he was on the Vikings, he looked like he just couldn't do anything. And we know how bad Seattle's offensive line is. I wouldn't say that's necessarily gotten a lot better. I will say it has gotten a little bit better with the additions that they made, but they are still starting Anthony Bradford. And if you've had the misfortune of seeing any sort of tape on Anthony Bradford, he might be the worst offensive lineman that gets significant steps in the NFL. The only other offensive lineman I could think of off the top of my head that is in that conversation is Daniel Faalele on the Ravens. Those two are just in their own tier of just bad. But yeah, and their defense looks really good as well. Mike McDonald is one of the better defensive-minded coaches in the league. It is kind of a dying archetype, but he is one of those that can kind of make it work. And we'll see if they can stick around this top 5 range. But like I said, this is the one I feel the least confident in going forward. But in a prove it now sort of top 5, this is the best I got.
Braden having 2 NFC West teams in his top 5.
And neither of them are the Niners.
Yeah,
I'm really not enjoying this episode, guys.
Yeah. I like your power rankings a lot, Brock. Here are yours. You want to just give us a rundown of why you have the teams where you do?
Bills, Eagles stay 1-2. Nothing more to add to that. They're the only undefeated teams left. Rams at 3, Colts at 4, and Lions at 5. I know that we kind of trashed a little bit on Danny Dimes' performance against the Rams, but again, they were a couple bad decisions away from tying, if not winning this game against the Rams, which they would have been put at 3. So just because of that, and they haven't given me any other reason to really lower them anymore, I just moved them down 1 spot and moved the Rams all the way up into the rankings. I think I didn't. Yeah, I don't think I had them ranked last week. So they went from unranked to ranked. And that was because, we were still working through all the undefeated teams still going on and how that works. But I have the Rams at 3. I really think they're really good. They scare me, man. Matthew Stafford still being able to throw the ball the way that they want. I would love to see the run game, like I think Brady mentioned earlier, to be more of a dominant thing. Kyron Williams maybe getting a 100-yard game at some point here in a week or 2, please. But yeah, and then the Lions at 5. I think the Lions should be in in my power rankings for sure with how they've been playing recently. Like I said, they are setting themselves up for a very dominant future here as the season progresses. And I think that Packers loss is going to more and more look like a moral, like one of those ones that you look back on and you're like, we needed to lose that because it really helped us realize what we had wrong going into the season and what we can fix. So give me the Lions at 5. I really, out of all of these teams, if there's one team that I don't think will be there in the next couple of weeks, it'll probably be the Colts, just because I didn't really expect them to be here in the first place, but they still haven't yet given me a total reason of why I should not have them ranked. So I'm going to keep them in my top 5 at 4. So again, Bills 1, Eagles 2, Rams 3, Colts 4, and Lions 5.
Yeah, maybe I
Always
am a
show
little
mine.
bit reactionary, taking the Colts entirely out of my top 5. I think that might just be because the Ravens pissed me off so bad by just being terrible after I gave them the benefit of the doubt that I just don't want to put a team that lost in my top 5 again.
Yeah, that's
But
fair.
I don't know. We'll see.
I think
Hey, there's a good chance that if they lose this week, they won't be in my rankings next week. So it's one of those where it's like I can see why you take them out, because there are other one-loss teams that could benefit from being, or that probably fit into this power rankings. But also, like, for me, I personally don't see a reason of why I would take them out right now. But that can change in 6 days for sure.
That's fair.
I think one thing that we all have in common is we all have a bunch of NFC teams in our power rankings. And that is just the case with mine. Here are my week 4 power rankings. We have the same 1 and 2, all three of us, just in different orders. So I'm not going to spend too much time. Eagles 1, Bills 2. I think we all have the Rams at 3. Does that sound right? So again,
Yes,
I did.
he's close.
Yeah. So won't spend too much time on that. Lions have looked really, really dominant. Them going into Baltimore, and granted, we don't know how good Baltimore is just because that defense being bad, but they went in there and they dominated Baltimore on both sides of the ball. So I thought that was super impressive. And then I still have Tampa in mind. I'm not going to give Tampa too much of a ding. They only lost by, I'm going to say 8. I know the final score says 6, but they lost by 8 in that game to the defending Super Bowl champs. And they were a couple plays away from really winning that game in the second half. So I still am a huge believer in the Bucs. They just got to get healthy. Like, who knows if Bucky Irving's going to be out for a while. Mike Evans is going to be out for a couple weeks. They got Godwin back this week, and Godwin was able to play a couple snaps. Ibuka looks unbelievable. He looks like he's going to run away with Offensive Rookie of the Year. But yeah, I just couldn't ding the Bucs too much, even though they lost to the Eagles. But yeah, that is my power rankings for week 4 heading into week 5. Now we're going to do our player of the week. Braden, I'm going to have you start with yours. Here is your player of the week. You just want to give us a rundown of why you chose, who you chose?
Yeah. So funny what happens when you let a guy that basically broke college football last year play football how he plays his best football. Chip Kelly, for some reason, decided that he was going to make Ashton Genty go into his like a regular running back position stance, like before the snap, and he was okay. He wasn't great. Like I would say, pretty comfortably underperforming compared to what we kind of had his expectations at. But this week, they finally let him go into his Michael Myers stand-up stance, and wouldn't you know it, he's just as dominant as we thought he was going to be. Ended up with 155 total yards, 3 total touchdowns, over 6.5 yards per carry, behind an offensive line that we didn't have a lot of hope for, and against a defense that I thought was, pretty good. Maybe not like top tier, but not bad to have a guy that people were calling a bust after the first 3 weeks go and do the kind of performance that he had. But yeah, overall, really impressed with how Ashton Genty performed. I think was, I don't know. I'm getting tired, guys. I'm running out of words.
This episode has went on a little bit longer than expected. So we'll try to wrap this up really quick. Brock, here's your week 4 player of the week. You just want to tell us why you chose who you chose?
Puka Nacua, 170 yards, 1 touchdown, 13 receptions. Enough said.
Yeah.
Big dub. Best receiver right now in the league.
Shout out Puka Nacua. Helped me win a huge parlay this weekend, so really appreciate it. My week 4 player of the week is Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs needed this bounce back win, and he played about as well as he's played in the last few years. think it's the first time he's had 4 touchdowns in a game in over 2 years, which is crazy to believe from a guy like Mahomes. But yeah, the Chiefs offense looked dominant, and therefore I thought he was worthy of our player of the week. All right. Kind of to wrap up this episode, we have some exciting games to look forward to in week 5 of the NFL, including Niners Rams, as well as Buccaneers Seahawks, Lions Bengals, Commanders Chargers, Chiefs Jags. There's a couple good games this week, not as many as we had last week, but still some good ones that you guys should all tune into. We will have another episode recapping next week. At some point this season, I think we're going to do an MVP ladder at some point when it gets a little bit closer and we have a better idea of where players kind of stand for awards and stuff like that. But we're going to wrap this episode up for week 4 of the NFL, looking into week 5. But for Braden Benkin, Brock Bierman, I'm Dawson Livingston, and we are signing off.